strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you could possibly imagine.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Bulldog here, continuing on with our beginner's guide to specific splinters. We've gone through all 5. There are some things I wanted to redo, but we've done at least one for all 5. Now we have the dragon deck, which is kind of the 6th splinter. It's a little bit different than the others, because what happens when you choose to play a dragon, when you choose a dragon summoner, is you then have to choose one of the other 5 main splinters. Whatever has to be available, choose one of them that is available. And then you can add your dragon cards on top of it. So dragon can be very, very powerful because you get access to extra cards. And these cards are really pretty powerful. They're also pretty expensive. So let's do this a little bit different than normal. Instead of having like a little slideshow type thing where I've kind of isolated different cards, I do kind of like that. It keeps me on track. But I'm going to increase my flexibility here. We're going to just go directly into the game and look at these because there are so many to talk about, even with just the summoners, and I want to be able to kind of show you different levels as well. So again, this is beginner's guide, so we're going to look at bronze and silver levels. So like if we're looking at legendaries, level 1, level 2, and there's a lot of flexibility here, guys. You have a lot of options. So for example, you can choose, there is a dragon summoner for +1 magic or +1 melee attack over here. Selenia down here is +1 ranged attack. You've got Delwyn up here that's +1 magic attack. You can whatever, if you're focusing on a magic deck and you want to add magic attack to it plus the dragon cards, you can go that way. So there's a lot of flexibility. Your legendary summoner, your kind of big untamed legendary summoner is Kitty here. Kitty gives +2 speed, true aim, so you always hit, and a heal, a tank heal. Very powerful. We know that speed can be king for multiple reasons. First off, getting your attacks in first, and then dodging. This ability to not be evaded is kind of overlooked, but it is really big. How many of you guys have lost a battle that you felt like you should have won because you had a key attack that was dodged? Happens all the time. Dodge rate can get pretty high. And you're going to flip the script here. You're not going to be able to be evaded at all. You add that extra speed, you're going to do a lot of dodging yourself. So that is very good. And then we know how powerful healing can be. So Kitty's kind of the prize here. One of the prizes. We've also got, I mean, if you guys have $29,000 laying around, you can add Arius over here. But I'm going to kind of ignore him, assuming nobody's going to be able to afford him. Just one that, look, 87. There's just not that many that are available. So, and then the one, if we want to, Kitty's pretty expensive as well, though. If we want to look at some of the cheaper options, there are the one that I really highly recommend for all new players is Bright and Bloom. So, for a couple reasons. First off, right now it's one of the cheaper dragon cards, so you can get into the dragon deck without having to spend a ton of money. And then flying is good all the time because flying increases your dodge chance by 25% if the opponent doesn't have flying as well. If they do have flying, then you're going to avoid that 25% dodge chance on your end. So flying can be very good anyways. But then there are earthquake battles that pop up all the time. Earthquake is one of the rule sets, and at the end of every turn, anybody that doesn't have flying takes 2 damage. So being able to give all of your cards flying in that rule set is a huge advantage. If your opponent's not playing Bright and Bloom, they're going to probably be choosing cards that just have flying, or trying to, as best as they can, fit flying cards in there. So they might be choosing cards that they wouldn't otherwise, that maybe aren't quite as optimal, but they want to get that flying in. You use Bright and Bloom, you can choose your best team without having to worry about whether they've got flying or not, because you're going to add that. You're going to add that on yourself. So another one over here that is actually just getting ready to go out of print. If you guys have watched my Investor Corner videos, you know that as cards go out of print, their value increases significantly. Kretch over here might not look that great because he has no ability. He gives you no ability, but he can actually be a very good option because he's at 3 mana. He's an epic, so it takes fewer cards for him to level up. I know he doesn't look like he's a lot cheaper than the others, but for example, Bright and Bloom here, if we click on him, He's a rare, so to max him out takes 115 cards. If we go back here, oh, that's Drake. That's not the right one. They switched on me. They switched on me. If we go back here to Crutch, look at his value. Look how much his value just jumped in like the 2 minutes I was making this video. Jeez. So he's getting ready to go out of print. His value is going to increase. But you see, he only takes 46 to max out, even though they're about the same price. So he's a lot cheaper to level up. And even though he doesn't give you abilities, he's going to allow you to use your dragon cards, which can be a huge boost on his own. So don't ignore him just because he has no abilities. Yeah, if you can spend the money, you'd much rather, okay, for 3 mana, you could go down here to Camilla and decrease your opponent's magic attack by 1. Or for 3 mana, you could increase your own range ability by 1. But there's a huge price difference, and that's going to price a lot of people out of using those cards. So the bottom line is there's a lot of flexibility in these summoners, and you can kind of choose whatever you want to fit your other decks, to fit the cards that you have. If you can have more than one, it gives you flexibility within the match and within the lineup selection, and that can be a bonus as well. So those are the summoners. Now let's switch over and look at the monsters here. So again, we're going to focus on level 1 and level 2. Now these are, a lot of times when I want to use Dragon is high mana battles, because some of the best cards here get to be very high mana. You can see that, and they can be pretty expensive too. But some of your best cards, you're going to see high amounts of mana here, and just getting adding multiple dragons in can increase pretty quickly. There are also cards that scale very well at higher levels. So as you get into the higher levels, I feel like dragon becomes more and more important, because you get some pretty insane abilities here. But let's focus on some of the lower ones. My favorite card is Dragon Jumper. Yes, it's expensive. You might just have to rent him, but for 7 mana, you get 3 attack and pretty fast. He's pretty fast, especially if you play him under Kitty, and he's 7 speed. Can be very fast and has this opportunity. He gets the chance to take out some of your monsters on the other side, maybe some of your glass cannon types before they even take a turn. He can be very, very good, and then scales up with extra abilities as we level up. We'll look at these guys at level 2 for silver level as well, since a lot of these are legendary. But Dragon Jumper is one of my favorites. If you want to get in somewhat early, Robo Dragon Knight just went out of print. On my last investors video, I mentioned that his price is going to skyrocket. I bought a bunch of them for $45. Right now they're $62. So if you're seeing this video close to when it's released, you might be able to get in here before the price skyrockets to be like Dragon Jumper. But Robo Dragon Knight is one of the best tanks in the game. Yes, again, he's expensive, 11 mana, but 8 armor, 9 health. Divine Shield means the first attack is ignored. The first time he takes damage, it's ignored. And then Void is going to reduce damage from magic attacks, so it's going to take reduced magic damage. And let's look at it at level 2 here. Let's go to level 2, see if one's... Yeah, there's one being sold. Adds piercing as well with 4 attacks, so gets decent attack out of this. For being an extreme tank with decent damage, it actually has decent speed as well. And then let's just show you guys what it looks like when you get it maxed out too, just for fun. I know this is a beginner's guide, you aren't going to be maxing it out, but also adds reflect and return fire. So any type of, so if you got ranged magic damage, it's going to counter all of that. Best way to take it out is by having high melee damage, but you don't see that a lot of times because most melee can't attack from anywhere but the front. You'll see a lot, people are playing like Arianthus up front or something that doesn't even have an attack. A lot of times there's not much melee attack in battles at all. Robo Dragon Knight can be extremely good. So one of my favorite characters that its price hasn't quite exploded yet. Some of you will be watching this video after the price has already exploded. But even then, looking to rent it can be a good option. Down in the low level Bronze League, one of the characters that I felt was very underrated, that always annoyed me having to face, was Fire Spitter. So Fire Spitter is another a character that I like that isn't necessarily high mana and isn't overly expensive. Only $14 for a level 1 right now. Again, that's probably going to change. One of the things I liked about having the my little PowerPoint style presentation, it wasn't PowerPoint, but that's kind of what it felt like, was that I also hid the prices, because I know there's going to be comments a month from now, 3 months from now, as Fire Spitter was $15. Now he's $50. But that's okay. Fairly cheap. You might be able to rent him, find some rentals for an affordable cost. But 2 ranged attack for 4 mana at a decent speed. He's got 4 at level 1, 4 speed with flying. That's going to get a lot of evades down in bronze level. And then if you're playing like Kitty, for example, Kitty's actually not too bad to rent, by the way. Pretty expensive, but rental prices have been pretty reasonable for Kitty. 6 speed with flying in bronze, going to be very hard to hit. Fire Spitter can be very good in as like your first range. If you're going range damage as your first range character, that's going to take your snipes because he can get some dodge. Last range character that might get some sneaks because you can get some dodge there. So Fire Spitter can be a real pain in lower levels. So Serpentine Mystic is one that I've used before. Again, a fairly cheap card. Nothing doesn't really look outstanding, but this Affliction, just being able to add Affliction can be a big deal. Preventing healing on the other side can sometimes be worth it. So Serpentine Mystic is one that I have that I'll sometimes use. But Draggling Bowman is kind of unique because we've got Sneak with a ranged attack. A lot of times when people are trying to prevent Sneak, they're looking at adding things like Thorns in the back, and that can avoid that. Although sometimes they'll put Shield in the back, sometimes they'll put high dodge characters, still going to be susceptible to that. But one of the rare ranged Sneak characters. We can get up some of these big dragons here. So Diamond Dragon, lots of armor again. You saw 8 armor with Robo Dragon Knight, 10 armor with Diamond Dragon. So, and has, okay, so I'm going to slow them down, has a magic tank instead. So that's a character that I like to put like in the second spot. If we've got a 99 mana battle and I can afford to put 10 mana in the second spot, Diamond Dragon can be decent because it can be a second tank once your first tank falls, but can still attack from that second position. High armor characters can be very good with revives. If you've got any sort of revive out there, there's some in multiple splinters. Whenever a character's revived, they are revived with only 1 health, but they're revived at full armor. So if you go through Diamond Dragon, if you're not using a bunch of melee, can obviously be, or a lot of magic, can obviously be susceptible to some magic attacks there with only 6 health. But if you're trying to beat through him with physical damage and then you get all the way through him and then he revives and you've got 10 more armor to go through again, that can be so disheartening to see something like that, but it can be a very good tank. Red Dragon down here, again, is another character I really like in the second spot once you get to level 2. So when we get up to the silver level, let's see if there's, maybe nobody's selling him at level 2. Okay, let's go back to him. We'll go in manually. Red Dragon here, let's look at level 2 and look at these stats. Return Fire. I really like having Return Fire in the second spot because, again, he can be kind of a second tank, but then anything that has Snipe is going to attack Red Dragon. It's going to get returned right back. So it can attack a little bit from the second spot. Only has one magic damage until you get up to level 2. And then you get that heal too. So it can be really good at absorbing those snipes. But once your first tank falls, drops down, you can do 4 melee attack once it moves into the first spot, or you can use it as a primary tank as well. Again, if you don't have high mana battles, it's hard to add a second tank that's that good, because you want to find a first tank too, right? And so yeah, it can be difficult if you're not necessarily in high mana battles, but that can definitely be a card that I really like. Again, unfortunately, these are fairly expensive. The Vigilator is a card I really like whenever you get to a spot where, okay, if melee can attack from anywhere, for example, or if everybody has opportunity, getting 2 attack and 2 melee attack, 1 ranged attack, and attacking twice This double strike makes him attack twice. He's going to basically attack 4 times if you've got a rule set where he can use both ranged and melee, and that can be really good. If you get in one of those with blast, then it can really be good because you would do those 4 attacks and they hit everybody to the side as well. Like if you have opportunity in blast rule set, man, Vigilator can really be fun in those. So kind of a niche card that I like, not one that I play on a regular basis, but when the rule set favors it, Vigilator can be very, very good. And those are kind of the ones I would say I'd focus on liking at level 1. Some of these cards I'm not mentioning though are still very good, so I don't want you guys to think the rest of them are bad or anything, but those are kind of the ones I like the best. The bottom line with Dragon is there's a lot of versatility. You can match them with whatever splinter you want, and there's a bunch of different types that you can find here, different cards you can play. Lightning Dragon's actually fairly good as well with that 6 speed and flying. We talked about how they can dodge a lot, kind of like a better version of Fire Spitter, a little higher cost, but can do that extra damage, has decent health and speed for a level 1. Can be very good. So there's certainly a lot of cards. I mean, things like, okay, Mighty Dricken is extremely good. Very, very expensive though. Most of you aren't going to be playing that. But just a lot of flexibility here, and just to kind of showcase some of these legendaries. Look at these legendaries at max level. So Scale Doctor is one that I don't really use at level 1, but you get them up to level 4, and you've got Triage, Rust, and Repair. All of those, these cards get very, very powerful as you max them out. So I didn't really use Dragon a lot when I was a beginner. I know this is a beginner's guide, but just kind of giving you guys a taste of what it comes. We talked about Robo Dragon Knight, Gold Dragon. Again, has Blast, Magic Reflect, can be a real pain there. There are some very good cards, and you can see why they are so expensive. Look at the price to max out some of these cards. It's in the thousands of dollars. So they get very, very good at higher levels. So hopefully that kind of gives a decent rundown, gives you guys some things to think about when you're looking at building your Dragon deck. There's so much to look at. Look at this Diamond Dragon with a Last Stand, and you've got the Cleanse. So you put that under Kitty, and you can get a heal that, and you can cleanse any poison, anything like that. Becomes one of those great Last Stand characters. But again, only once you max it out. So that's all I've got for Dragon, guys. Remember, if we added something new the other day. The title screen right here, you see this title screen? It is now available as a 1-of-1 NFT. Some of you guys have been bidding on these. I'm actually kind of excited. Go to the link below. You can bid on it. It starts at 10 cents. It's very cheap, just a fun thing. But if you guys want to own a piece of memorabilia from my video, that's a way you can do that while supporting the channel. So let me guys know what you think about this little. It's kind of a different format, looking through everything on the in-game screen where you can see. Hopefully you're not too overwhelmed by the prices. Again, I debated whether to put out market prices or rental prices. It is a lot cheaper to rent, but the bottom line is it's going to change. You guys saw how much who was the one card jumped up, but right in the middle of the video. That was kind of intense there a little bit. Who was? Yeah, I'm forgetting who it was now. We'll go back here. Kretch, that was it. Kretch jumped up during the video, so prices are always fluctuating. It happens. But let me know what you think of this format, or if you like the kind of PowerPoint style where I isolate the cards and you can see kind of specifically which cards I'm recommending you build and that type of thing, rather than just going through and talking about a lot of them. But it does kind of give me some more flexibility. I can go in and see the stats, those types of things, can show you how it scales and showcase the data a little bit better, and hopefully you don't get too overwhelmed. So thank you guys for tuning in. I am going to go back and redo the fire guide, not using Jotun, because Jotun's price has just gotten crazy expensive. I said absolutely go rent him in that video, and it's gotten to where a lot of people can't even afford to rent him. It has gotten pretty high. I'm going to go back and redo the water splinter as well, because I did a magic version, but you can also there's a completely different strategy there, and I want to talk about that as well. And there are certainly multiple strategies for every splinter, but those are kind of night and day in a way. And then after that, I'll move on to doing some more like mid-level, like gold guides, that type of thing. So that's kind of what's coming down the line as far as as far as deck guides go and looking at the specific splinters. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for all your support. I'll be seeing you around.